Wow, what a wonderful sunset. And that six-armed drone does a wonderful job for us. Oh, hey, I gotta get on this meeting for the NAB. John, here he is. Hey, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we got to get on this meeting.
Hello.
Can you hop on? There we go. I can't see you yet. There we go. There's Phil. And our special guest, Jason. Is he on? All right, great. We got all three guys here. Well, so we're all here for that, to go over that NAB show express that they've putting on in the midst of this global situation. So the thing we're talking about is using the drones to progress the future of delivery and broadcasting. And so I appreciate you guys doing that, coming on board to get this happening. So today we're going to go over quickly. We're going to interview the airborne. We're going to do the airborne division that QCommunications started with the Q Force. We're going to interview the four candidates for the field study coverage verification, for the infrared and burnout and leak detection segment, for the tower inspection and the map inspection, tower mapping. And we'll talk a little bit about the future of ATCS3. And we got some crazy blooper reels. So, gentlemen, let's kick off the process with the field study coverage verification candidate, CV. Come on in, CV. Oh, yeah. Right there. Some nifty flying there. Welcome. I know you've traveled far. As you know, this is the third and final interview for the candidacy of the field study coverage verification unit for the airborne division of QCommunications. So today you're going to be meeting the principals of the divisions that you're going to be reporting to. So first off, we have John Owen, co-founder of QCommunications. And we have Phil Larson.
Good morning, CV. How was your flight in? I hope.
Oh, he's... yeah, springtime takes it out of him, right? So what we're doing, CV, is we'll introduce you to Phil Larson, who will be your direct report as the Vice President of the Airborne Division for QCommunications, and you're hoping to be part of the Q Force. Introduce yourself.
Good to have you, CV. Look forward to talking with you and your answers. Thanks for coming in and making the travels.
Yeah. And we have a special guest, Jason Schreiber. He's the founder of Six Arms. And he will be working very closely with us as we become certified to continue on in the United States, and that we also do everything in accordance. And you're going to be one of the first candidates if you make it through. Welcome, Jason.
Well, good day. Thanks, Tony. And I thought I might just let CV know a little bit about us. Well, I am the founder of Six Arms. We've been operating for about 5 years now. What we do is we supply the world with specialized RF test and measurement solutions. We actually build and develop airborne RF measurement payloads, mainly for broadcasters, government regulators, defense organizations, some cellular operators, and even some private transmission networks. We help them troubleshoot and characterize, maintain, and optimize their networks. Some of the clients that are using Six Arms, use our systems for antenna pattern measurements. They use it for some spectrum monitoring, some direction finding to find interference, as well as compliancy. We're super excited to be working with QCOM to help the US broadcasters get the most out of their RF infrastructure.
All right, CV. So now you've heard from the co-founder of Six Arms, and so we're going to start the questioning, one per candidate. Would be from John Owens. And John Owens got this question for you. Answer it. Take your time. Can the drone systems that you're going to be carrying perform the both near and far field measurements utilizing FCC guidelines? CV, that sounds like that was better than the yes or no answer, and I really appreciate that. What do you think of CV's answer, John?
I thought it was a good answer. I think he's got the information at hand and he's squared away technically. I think it's going to work out good. Appreciate the interest and appreciate the answer.
Well, great. Well, you know, I've known John a long time. We started this company 14 years ago, but John's been in the industry longer than I've been alive, and I got a 21-year-old grandson. So, John hates it when I say that, but you should know that. It's one of those things you need to know. So, Phil Larson, your direct report, will answer the next question, and he's a tough cookie to crack. He's got more alphabet soup in his credentials than Chip Ahoy. So here's his question. What's the first step to a successful flight? So think about it, and here we go. Whoa, sounds like you had multiple answers on that one, and sounds like you are really interested in safety to me. What are your thoughts, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. CV, that's the right answer. You mentioned pre-planning in the first one, and then the right aircraft in the second response. That's exactly correct. Q-Force uses a state-of-the-art, specifically designed airframe in conjunction with 6 Arms that allows us to fly at incredible heights for up to 35 minutes. Our airframe weighs around 18 pounds. The whole process of what we do here in the pre-planning is that we start with validation of a project through our customers' expectations, and then we look at the scope of work to be completed, the geographical location. We use special apps such as Before You Fly from the FAA, UAV Forecast, Air Map, and just to name a few, all of which validate the safety and the security of our flight and making sure that it is completely relevant to the customer and the expectations they're expecting from us.
Well, CV, you elicited a good response from Mr. Larson, and so you're going to have to, we got to give our back office people some kudos for picking up good candidates for us. So now the hardest question of all to answer is going to come from the founder of 6 Arms, Jason Schreiber. Here's his question he has for you, and we're all looking forward to how you're going to answer this one. This is probably the make or break. What are the advantages of using the drone-based RF measurement systems over traditional land-based techniques when performing CV studies? Let's see. Wow. Okay, so another comprehensive question with a comprehensive answer. Jason, what are your thoughts on CV's answer?
Well, I think CV has impressed me. He's hit the nail on the head there. Exactly that. The first thing that we do is we get airborne, so there's less multipath issues, due to local clutter. So all the measurements that we do get in the air are more accurate. Well done, CV. Oh, also, he said that we can actually characterize that antenna 100%, and we can compare the data we get in the air directly with the manufacturer's data for a one-on-one comparison. The whole process is automated. It means number crunching is done for us, which is great. There's less equipment, quick mobilization. And I think the final thing CV said there was that, it's cheaper, more accurate, and more efficient. So well done.
Yeah, CV, looks like you impressed the founder. That's fantastic. So, Jason, as well, I'm going to share the top 6 reasons that CVs are performed. Could you go over those real quick?
No problem, Tony. Yep. One of the main ones is incorrect main feeder phasing, which allows your beam tilt to be incorrectly, propagated. Wrong panel orientation. Some of these antennas that the guys put up, they do a great job, but they look the same whether they're upside down or not, and you can actually put panels in the wrong direction. Unknown system losses, combiner losses, switching frames, everything that ultimately adds up to your effective radiated power, needs to be accounted for. severe mechanical lean. I mean, some of these towers are 2,000 feet high, so having a 1 degree lean at the top there severely is going to impact your coverage area. Inverted panels, like I mentioned before, the same as the orientation. You could be pointing them in the wrong direction. You can turn them upside down and install them accidentally. And final compliance, are you actually putting out the right amount of power that the FCC says that you can?
Well, yeah, appreciate that, Jason. So those are the top reasons that any broadcaster should do it, new or used, if you're in the repacking a new antenna, or if you're going to ATCS3 and you're adding vertical, or if you've had a problem or your tower's been painted recently and people are just coming out of the blue, there may be something in your antenna that's changed. Birds, nesting and stuff like that. Our CV can take that can look in that as empirical evidence, and we can also do some visual inspections. Okay, with that, what I also wanted to share was an actual customer in the repack from Quincy Media. We performed for WPTA and WISE this process that we're talking about now for the CV, because they had an anomaly in their new antenna, we thought, and we went in and looked at it. And Jason and John, are you able to see the repack thing now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not able to see you guys, but so I'm going to go to what I consider the more the visual reports. Is we were all there. So explain to me over here on the WPTA. This is the one we're talking about, the antenna, because they're shared facilities, so both the signals are in there. But on WPTA, the predicted, which is in the red, and the actuals, which we did, looks like it's spot on.
Yeah, this is actually one of those, I guess, rarer occasions where what we measure with our drone is actually almost perfectly matched up with what the antenna manufacturer has put in their manufacturer's handbook. So the top left picture there, which is what we call the Azimuth Patent, is basically a slice horizontally through the antenna, and kind of defines which direction the power and the radiation is getting pushed to. So we would consider this antenna an omnidirectional antenna, being designed that way, and it's been measured that way as well. So no significant issues at all with this antenna from an azimuth point of view. If we pop over to these to the right hand side and the bottom of that azimuth pattern there, you'll see what we call elevation patterns. And now we measure an elevation pattern in order to figure out, well, where is all our power getting propagated to? Are we shooting all our power up towards the sky? Are we shooting it down towards the ground? And this is a very, very important design consideration, when building your antenna or choosing your design. And once again, we can see that the measured data is almost identical to your predicted data, which is exactly what you want. And in a lot of occasions, as we've mentioned before, with incorrect feeder phasing, you might be pushing that power up, towards the sky and wasting a significant amount of energy to cover no one in the air. And finally, that third bottom left-hand plot there is now actual power verification. So we've traveled a little bit further away from the site, and we've done an elevation measurement to figure out exactly the right amount of how many kilowatts is this actual transmission putting out. So we're now measuring the power as well as the elevation pattern. And this, like I mentioned before, is one of the rare occasions where everything is just fitting in. It fits and it's working really well. So, WPTA in this instance would be pretty happy with that transmission.
Thank you, Jason. Hey, John, when we engineered this, we were delighted, even though we were expecting a problem.
Yeah, we were looking at some anomalies I found when the antenna was on the ground with some interconnection, and we thought that might be a problem. Quincy also said that they thought they had a problem, but the actual proof in the pudding is what the drone showed us, which is pretty doggone close to what the manufacturer said it should be. So it worked out well.
Well, fantastic. And so that's what can be expected, and there's always the lot more parameters to it. And there's and Phil, would you kind of describe some of the, as you look here, this is the flight patterns here. These are the standards that we'll be using. That has been developed by 6 Arms. We're being certified now. We'll be training them by the time that the NAB goes through, and so we should be in a good position to help all the United States customers out.
Yeah, they're very good, Tony. That's absolutely what you see here is a design that 6 Arms is kind of solidified into their process. We've adopted it. It makes sense here in the United States. It's a 400-foot rule off of a structure designed and allotted for in the Part 107 allowances that allows us to fly around these structures without being in any violation or needing any waivers for that matter. Although if we had to do that, we definitely can. But this is a great pattern that we're flying here. It allows us to grab the elevations on vertical flights, again, grabbing that beam pattern, and then also grabbing the orbital pattern at height. And with the specific airframe that we're using, this is well within our full capabilities.
Great. Well, gentlemen, I think that is a pretty good description of a CV. We went over the candidate, and looks like he's qualified. We thank John for your input on this, and Phil, and our special guest, Jason Schreiber from 6 Arms, the founder. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, and we look forward to blue skies.
Great being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having the meeting.
Take care.
Well, hey, that was great to have Jason Schreiber, our special guest from 6 Arms, come in and help us kick off our coverage verification through the field studies portion of our airborne division. I think that went well. What do you guys think?
I think it went great. It was great to have him. Really good.
Yeah, it's nice to have him stop and talk about capabilities for our service to the good show.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's 1 down, 3 more to go. So the second position we were looking for would be the infrared portion of our airborne division and the Q4. So let's bring in IR, and he's the next candidate. Well, hello. Oh, he's got a little gumption. Look at him. Woo! There, hey, steady, big fella. Well, that's why they call him infrared.
Nice.
I guess I must be cold, guys, because he didn't see me. But that's pretty cool. All right, so welcome, IR. I hope you had a safe flight and good. We will, on the short notice coming in. You know, this is the third and final interview as we look to bring you on as part of the infrared division. So you ready to go? Well, that's good to hear. All right, I'm glad that he's welcome, guys. So I said he's happy to be here, as you know. So let's kick this off. So John Owen's going to ask you your first question there, and his question to you, IR, is: with ongoing RF line aging and bullet degradation, can the Q4 system that we're deploying provide usable data for maintenance and historical reviews? What do you think about that? Well, John, what do you think about IR's answer to that?
Well, I think he hit the nail on the head. He can fly the appropriate profile, gauge the current system performance, locate any hotspots in the transmission RF system, along with other systems like control circuits and lighting circuits for possible degradation and overheating situations, and provide a visual record for record keeping. That's a good deal.
Looks like you nailed that one there, IR. You know, that's the reason why you made it to the third round. But, you know, I've known John for 14 years, and like I said earlier, he's been in this industry longer than I've been alive. And so He knows he knows good quality when he sees it. However, the next question there is going to come from your direct report, and we all know how that's going to go. So they're a little bit tougher. So here's what he's going to ask you. So think about it. Here it goes. Infrared is a unique tool and can be used in a variety of industries. How do you see infrared being used in our broadcast industry? So think about that. And you ready? Well, that was a little verbose, but I'm thinking that you're probably on the right track. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, very good answer. Very good answer. I like the verbose lengths answers. That very descriptive. And he's right. Infrared cameras attached to a drone can fly an entire structure looking for anomalies. And through the post-processing of these anomalies, we can review it and look for potential issues for our customers. QForce also flies an integral airframe that carries both an IR and a camera system. When we then use both streams to provide a variety in-depth report to our customer, after this first inspection, we can actually create a baseline of the structure and compare against additional inspections as we offer in our routine maintenance program.
Well, yeah, I agree. And so that sounds like you and IR may be hitting it off, which is...
Yeah, sound good.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
So IR, I really appreciate you coming in. That's about all we've got for you today because we've already run you through the mill a couple times before. So with that, we'll say adieu to you, and we'll be in touch with you shortly.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Well, guys, I was impressed. So I know our back office people, they always do a great job, and the candidates that we're seeing today just keep that forefront of my mind. So we're going to give them some adieus later this afternoon, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's 2 down. Let us go to the third one, which is the third interview is for the tower inspection. So with that, let's bring in T.I. Come on in, T.I. Oh, look at him. Oh, look, hey, dude, you did a double thing. I like that. I'm sorry, that's half me, half you, so we're good. Well, welcome, T.I. This is the third interview, as you know, and this is the final one. Today, you're going to be interviewed by the founder, John, and your direct report, Phil. So let's get right to it, because, as you know, this has been a long and arduous process for you, so I really appreciate you coming. And so I'm going to get right to it. The first question is from John Owen. Will you be able to and capable of performing tower inspection requirements as set forth that we talked about earlier? And it better not be a yes or no. So I'm going to caveat that with a how will you be able to. So if you want to answer that, think about it for a second. Are you ready? Okay, yeah, he's ready. Here comes John. Well, that was definitely more than yes and no. What do you think of T.I.'s response there, John?
I think he's thought about this before, and I think he's got the finger on the pulse of this. The complement of equipment that he carries performs, as we talked about, thermal imaging for transmission line issues with tower mapping requirements, plus the large line pressurized leak and other tower anomalies. The neat thing about it, from my perspective, is that during emergency operations, he can look for ice damage, radome damage. He can take a look at appurtenances on the tower that have been moved or are not operating to specifications, and he can do all of this with both visual and imagery. Gives us a full complement of capability for review by the client as to maintenance issues, both ongoing, immediate, and emergency. So I think that's a good answer.
Well, T.I., that's one, and I'm telling you, I've known John a long time, and boy, our back office people picked some good people. So you're one, but now we're going to get to your direct report, Phil. So he's going to ask you this question, so think about it before you answer. What else can Q-Force provide in a tower inspection besides those that you've already discussed with John? All right, think about it. All right, here we go. You ready? Okay, here he comes. Okay. Wow, you still have a lot more to add, even to that lengthy conversation you just had with John. So, what'd you pick up on that, Phil?
Yeah, again, he's like John had mentioned, he's got his finger on this pulse. He's understanding what we're looking for and what we think our customers are looking for. So great answer. Q4's tower inspection program, whether it's a single flight or part of our annual maintenance program, collects and delivers our customer a complete visual understanding of the entire structure and property, right? So Q4's also tower inspection consists of roads, gates, and entry points, cleanliness of the site, elevations of the antennas, azimuth, potential hazards, potential obstructions, line of sight between structures, etc. It's a great report. It's one of the best in the industry, and he's right on the money.
Yeah, it looks like he's got some experience that on some of the smaller towers, so just moving up to the bigger ones may just be, I think he's proven he's not afraid of heights.
Right, and that's a good step, right? We want everyone to grow and be comfortable in the elevations, and that's why we fly these particular machines to make sure that we can handle those elevations correctly.
All right. Well, it looks like you're getting a couple of yeses there, so you just may be hearing from us shortly, TI, see? There you go. Well, thank you very much for coming, and have a great afternoon. Once again, that back office is coming through for us, guys. Let's bring in tower mapping. Man, you sound like you've got a turbo. I'm gonna let you see what you can do. There you go. All right, that's pretty good. There you go. Yeah, see, now for this tower mapping, you're gonna have to have a long wind and a lot of juice, don't you? Yeah, okay, well, that's good to know. Hey, I'm glad you came in today. This is the third and final interview. You'll be dealing with John Owen and Phil Larson today. So with further ado, let's get to it. John's going to ask you the first question. TM, will the system that you're going to be carrying be capable of ascertaining and identifying the position of the apertures on the tower and displaying them in various video and pictorial formats? And what would those formats be? And would you be, give some more details on that, and that's not just a simple yes or no question. So think about that for a second. You ready? Let's go. Yep, you're ready. Here he comes. Well, that wasn't yes or no. I think that was pretty good. What are your thoughts on TM, John?
Well, I think this is one of his favorite situations because he had the right answer. The onboard equipment obviously has the monitoring capability to look at the appurtenances on the tower, describe the location, do a video format recording, take a look at them by the adjustment of his height and the AMSL readings that are listed for the different situations on the tower. They can all be confirmed, and as structural changes are anticipated, the first thing that always needs to be done is tower map what's there so they can get an idea to make the necessary modifications or additions. So I think he's on the money. I think he's got the ability to do it, and I think he's ready to go.
Well, that's good. I concur. And so TM brought in a promo of himself. So let's see if we can't check this out. You got to like it when somebody brings in their own promo. So let's take a look at what he's got to say. So look at the complement of equipment he's got, guys. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's carrying quite a bit of the equipment that we use to do the different scopes of work. He's carrying it very effectively, and you can see it in his climb. He's very steady, looking good.
All right. Well, hey, Tim, you know you're going to get extra points for that, right? And that's your direct report. So here you buttered him up pretty good. So here's his question, though. So brace yourself. Okay, so what training did you endure, and what are you expecting that you think is required to perform these tower mapping projects at such heights? So think about that. You ready? Oh yeah, he's ready, Phil. Here you go. Well, there's a lot more training than I thought that went into that. So, Phil, do you concur with TM?
Yeah, I do, absolutely, and great response, really great response. Training is one of the Q Force's highest achievements to ensure that is best in industry, best in class. Our teams undergo a very detailed training program with classroom and practical sessions. Every pilot learns and understands of Q-Force airframes and every scope of work that Q-Force offers. But more importantly, it goes through other training outside of just the airframes, such as the RF courses, cellular courses, first aid courses, to name a few. And then more importantly than anything is 100% certified by the FAA through the Part 107 Unmanned Aerial Program.
Yeah. See, look, you hit another home run. Well, TM, it looks like that's it for today. Looks like you might make the final cut, and you might be on top of the list there, one or two. So we'll get back with you shortly. We appreciate you coming in.
He was ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like that enthusiasm. And boy, what about that promo he brought in, guys?
Great video. Great video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I think that conducts the 4 interviews that we have for today. So what we'll be doing is we appreciate the meeting, Phil and John. And so at this point, Phil, we're going to let you go, and John and I will finish with our meetings. So thank you very much. And let me see. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Take care. We'll try to stay safe.
Well, John, that was a really good interview with all the Q-Force. I think they're in place. So let's.
I agree.
Yep.
I think that was a good opportunity for everybody to hear what the potential situation is going to be.
That's fantastic. So what we want to do is, as we talked about, is how or what QCommunications and the future of delivery, which is coming quick, which is the next gen TV, which is the ATSC 3.0 that everyone's going crazy on. And I just want everybody to know that we've been working on this for 3 years and longer with the repack, but one of the things that happens is the repack is absolutely accelerating the adaptation of this 3.0. And so let's go over that a little bit and talk about what you're seeing is that how QCom's going to help facilitate that, not only in repack but on other TV stations. But here's why I say that powerful statement on repack is there's 900. Let me share this with you. That's what we want to do. Let's share it. So as we look, the repack has 987 TV stations that are full power that I would believe that absolutely every single manufacturer of those transmitters that are being installed to this date all have ATSC 3.0 capabilities built within them, or they're rather easily to change. Isn't that what your understanding?
Yeah, it borders on what the transmitter capability is. It obviously affects the RF system. The mass filters, if they've got the appropriate bandwidth, they won't need changed. If not, they'll need updated. We've got put a bunch of elliptical antenna polarization antennas in. If the station doesn't have one, obviously they're going to need one. It may need additional power increase in transmitter. And of course, the big thing is the exciter software updates. Once that's done, the RF system should be pretty much ready to go. And then inside the station, modifications will need to be done, and obviously we can engineer and help with those installations also, giving our customers the entry to the new future of broadcast television over the air.
Yeah, and when we discuss these things, it wasn't only until recently that the FCC went in and took the secondary low power television, the translators in FM, and most specifically here would be the low power television's capabilities, and brought them as part of the repack. And as we know, there's over 900 and some of them that are going through that process right now. And again, those transmitters, almost every single one of them should have the same upgradability for them automatically. And so that will accelerate further those lower budget television stations having that capability, just because of the repack will again accelerate the future adaptation of the 3.0 next generation. And I think that what that also mean, I think you hit it on the head when you talk about the elliptical antenna. If one thing I can tell anybody when they're going through this is if you're on the low power side, pay that difference, the upgrade from the FCC from your antenna as you change channels to add the vertical or the circular elliptical to it. That's anywhere from $2,000 to $16,000 for these antennas. Best investment you made. From the Low Power Television Coalition, Next Gen, they're talking from Mike Rovino. He's thinking that the price of your station, if you were looking in the future to sell it, will almost double with that adaptation. And if you don't go with that small upgrade now, you're going to have to take that antenna the FCC gave you, and you're going to have to take it down, figure out what else to do with it, and put the new one up and pay for a whole brand new antenna plus that. So a little bit of pre-planning engineering can get you that. And remember, that is an upgrade. We are always talking about that. So I like to bring that up. But as we talk about with QCommunications, we know there's a lot of new things that are going to come down with this, with the new next-gen TV for the smaller, it's all coming to those small screens and stuff like that. So we're mostly on the transmission side, the RF side. So that's where we're going to stick with our bailiwick on this. And we know there's a whole bunch of engineering that goes in the front end.
Absolutely, and you brought up a good point, I think, in that the station's only going to want to do the antenna install one time. Getting a tower crew back to take the new one down to put the new one up, new one with ATSC3 capabilities, it's going to save the operators a lot of money if they can just do it one time.
Yeah, I agree. So that's a pretty good thing as we move forward in the future of delivery, and we appreciate the NAB Express looking at that. That's one of the things we wanted to bring to the all of the engineers across the world as AT3 goes out, that the RF side of this is, there's a lot of advantages of it, but you have to do the pre-planning now, and we know a lot of them are doing that, but we do that. So with that, that moves us into the last phase of our presentation here for the NAB Express, and that's going to be this repack summary. I want to bring our director, Nicholas Solano. We call him Nick Solano. Come on in and talk a little bit about how that is going. He's the director of the repack for QCommunications.
Hey, John.
Hey, Nick, how you doing today?
Good.
So we wanted
I see
to.
Dobby sitting there beside you too, and I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, we're both nice and comfortable.
We do our best to try to make it comfy cozy over here. And so I wanted to bring Nick on board to talk about the summary of what the repack has gone. And one of the reasons I want to bring up the repack again, as I said a little earlier, and maybe we didn't say it in the beginning of all this, but the future is being rapidly accelerated by the repack. And no one thought about that. Oh, not no one. It was little thought of in the beginning. It was looked at it, but now it is definitely full swing. As you can see by there right now, if you add up the low power and high power, there's 1,929 TV stations that are going to be repacked, and every single one of those transmitters that we know of right now, besides some of the ones maybe the translators that were just retuned, are going to be capable with very small upgrades. So that's why I keep saying that. So with that, I'd like to have Nick give us a little bit of update on how we're operating with our customers and how we can help others.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. As you see there on the screen, I mean, obviously, John, that right now we have about 75 TV stations that we're moving through the repack process. Now, obviously, we help them prepare their Form 399s at the beginning, and we're helping them through that reimbursement process. But we also offer a whole list of services there: engineering and design, project management, whether it's inside, outside vendors, or in the office or out in the field. As you know, John, a lot of project management that you're out in the field, you can relate to that, as well as the regulatory aspects of compliance with the FCC. And bringing in the consulting engineers and attorneys on behalf of the TV stations, because we all want to make sure that we're dancing to the same tune. Installation and decom services. Now, this is a kind of a good milestone announcement here that we've hit over 105 installation as of today. So that's pretty impressive for any one company, right? We also
Sure
do.
is.
Yeah, right.
I don't think there's anybody else that's done that many, but that's just a guess.
Yeah. We also do proof sweeps and field studies, and I know you guys have been talking about the future delivery and how the field studies and coverage verifications and drones are going to keep us at the forefront on the leading edge of that. So that's good too, and it's important to note that all of these services that we mentioned here are reimbursable as part of repack, including the field study coverage verification, which I know you guys have already touched on. But that's super important for a TV station, especially the low power folks who are transitioning and needing to figure out where they stand on their contours. Reimbursement status. We like to joke around here that it's going smoothly if you do this for a living. But if you're new to it, if you're new to the repack process, if you're new to the reimbursement, if you're new to the invoice processing and management of vendors and whatnot, it's a little overwhelming. And so that's why we're here, and it's our job as industry leaders to kind of set the pace for everybody and quell the fears and the unrest. As we know that things are changing on a daily basis inside this program and outside, and so it's our job to keep our fingers on the pulse and keep our clients in the know. We'd like to give a shout out to the FCC. They're great folks over there, helping not only us out with guidance, but also the individual TV stations. They're easy to talk to on multiple levels, down to the reviewers looking at invoices, to the review leads, they call them over there, and everybody on up. They're very good to deal with, and they're looking out for the low power television's the station's best interests as well. And so good to give a shout out to them. A couple notes on some of the biggest reasons we're seeing any kind of issues with this whole repack processing, invoicing, and anything getting rejected or questioned. About 90% of why you would see an issue with any of this processes comes down to reasonableness and formatting. Reasonableness, we've talked about that before. Coming from a 1 kilowatt transmitter to another 1 kilowatt transmitter, whether your TPO calls for it or not. That type of engineering and calculations need to be reasonable, right? Where nobody's getting rid of their Pinto to get a Ferrari just because the quote unquote the FCC is paying for it, right? So it's one of those things that everybody wants to make sure that nobody's getting unjustly enriched or anything like that, but at the same time that the stations are getting reimbursed in a timely manner for everything that they've incurred. Formatting in terms of invoicing, It's one of those things that the vendors may or the stations may not have experienced this type of scrutiny in terms of reviewing invoices, but that's something that the FCC definitely takes a look at, and so that's obviously something that we take a look at on behalf of our stations. We like to also joke around here. One of our industry colleagues likes to refer to this whole process as disposable knowledge, right? There's no time in your lifetime, most likely, that you're going to need to know this as a low power station. And so it's one of those things that why would you try to learn everything yourself? Why not hire somebody who does this for a living to help you through this time? And with that, that's pretty much wraps up the repack summary. What are your thoughts, John?
I think you hit all the things on the head, and the disposable knowledge is the best one from my perspective, because once you learn it, you use it, and then you don't use it ever again. So QComm provides that service in the field administratively, and obviously looking to lead our customers into the future. So it's kind of a one-stop shop situation.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you very much, Nick. Thank you, John. I think we're getting ready to move it to the wrap up. But before we do that, let's take a quick break and we'll bring back the Q-Force and then we'll dismiss everybody. Well, that was a good break. Hey, we brought back the Q-Force, John. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Looks like they're getting ready to go. I'm assuming that they've got clearance from the tower and departure control, and they can move out when it's time.
Yeah, I think Phil made all those arrangements up front, so we're ready to rock and roll. So let's wrap up this opportunity that the NAB Show Express provided us and go through a little wrap up and on the future of delivery, on how ours was about how the drone industry is going to help them. And why don't you explain the Q-Force and how that's going to happen, John, with the...
Well, the Q-Force with the flying technology obviously will allow us to take a look at the antenna patterns, possible interference, the infrared part of the process gives us a chance to do some quick and efficient investigation and inspection of the tower, hopefully to prevent or find burnout problems with the transmission line. And then, of course, tower mapping and inspections can also be used with the infrared and high-quality video recordings, giving the station operators a chance to pick up anything that's going wrong before it does, and obviously to evaluate and record for future review as things age and as new technology comes into place.
Yeah, I agree. And so with the new Q-Force, doing all those things for the broadcast companies, on right now it's a one-off, but I think it's more of a maintenance issue now that they're here because of what you said earlier. I think it's bold to say that we're going to try to prevent burnouts, kind of like you try to prevent cavities, right? You're not going to get them all, but if we can get a baseline and we can determine and see a spike by utilizing these flyable drones that can make accurate measurements and do them rather rapidly, we can detect not only where the burnout is, we can also try to predict it. If it's elevated a little bit, we need to come in and do some investigation as to what it is and why, and then kind of estimate how much time you may have and try to prevent the burnout. Maybe we do some power down, and maybe we can go up and just change that one section out, as opposed to waiting or not knowing and then waking up at 3 a.m. with a tower on fire, which is a drastic portion, but that could happen. But we also, with this, can determine if your hydrator or your pressure system is leaking by checking for any escaped nitrogen or air coming from your waveguide. We can pinpoint that down to the nut. And if it needs to just be hunkered down, or if there's a seal that's completely broken, or inner or bullet, all that stuff. So the idea is those are two very important things that come up as a maintenance issue, not only just a one-off time in our mind. So with that, I think we got the Q-Force ready to rock and roll, which we are now here in this at the NAB Express. It will be the first time that we are introducing them and these services. We are doing them now, but this is the grand opening, if you will. And if you want to learn more, you can go to repack.tv for anything concerning the new Airborne Division with the Q-Force here. Or if you want to learn anything about the repack, and you can always call John Owen, Tony Zavalin, as myself, or Nick Solano. We thank you for your time. And John, I say, you know what, before I say that, John, I wanted to, it reminded me something. When we started this company 14 years ago, we were always, you've been in the industry longer than I've been alive, like we talked about, and you behind the scenes, right? This gives me a new respect for those that actually work on the scenes, in front of the scenes, or to make the scenes work. This productions and stuff like that are way more than I ever imagined. And so I want to give a shout out to all those workers worldwide that do that. And this reminds me of why our motto that we chose 14 years ago still holds true today. QCOM stands for quality behind the scenes. We do a great job on our engineering, design, and installation and project management, and I like to keep it that way for a while. What about you, John?
Same here.
All right.
Looking forward to working with our current customers and all the new ones that will need some of our services.
Yep. With that, John, be safe, be hygienic, and be reimbursed.
There you go.
All right, let's dismiss the Q-Force. And with that, it's time for something completely different.